I'm Dana Bristol-Smith with Leap to Success, and I'm so happy to welcome you to Self-Care in Stressful Times. This is episode 14, and our topic today is Get Out of the Funk. And I'm wondering, how many of you feel like you're in a funk right now? And you can just go ahead and share that in the chat if that's something that you're feeling right now, that you're in a funk, you're thinking that this situation that we're in right now, this what some people are calling the pandemic pause, is going to go on forever and ever. We don't see an end to it. What that can do is it can lead to paralysis. It leads to so much stress that we are all feeling, and I think I'm starting to see some responses here. People saying that, yes, I feel like this thing is going to go on forever and I don't know what to do. Well, today's session, Get Out of the Funk, is going to give you some really great strategies to lift yourself up so we can take action. When we feel empowered, when we can make choices, when we can take action, we feel better about our situation. And I want to share something that one of our graduates recently said, and this really gave me a lot of hope. She said, even though there's so much chaos around me, there's not chaos inside me. And I think we all need to find a way to where we are not chaotic inside so that we can deal with everything that's going on around us. So I'm so glad that you've joined us today and that you're giving yourself these 30 minutes. I'm Dana Bristol-Smith with Leap to Success. I see a few more people have just joined us. And Leap to Success is a women's empowerment organization based in Carlsbad, California. Our mission is to educate and empower women who are overcoming domestic violence, homelessness, and other major life challenges. And the audience for people who are benefiting from Leap to Success programs is getting bigger and bigger. So I want to thank you for your participation in these community Zoom webinars. I want to thank you for visiting us on YouTube and at our website, and for those of our friends who are with us on Facebook Live. Thank you too. And thank you to all of our donors and supporters who make our programs possible. We are a nonprofit organization, and it's only through the generosity and kindness of people who want our world to be better than it is right now that we exist. And I'm delighted that you're here with us. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Kelley Grimes, who is my co-host today. Welcome, Kelley.
Thank you so much, Dana, and welcome everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here with you for this episode and share really practical tools to transform that feeling of stuckness. I don't know about you, but it's one of those places when I feel that I feel the most disempowered. And so what we do as an organization is we educate and empower women, and we are excited to share these empowering tools with you today.
Thank you, Kelley. And Thank you and welcome to all of our male friends who are joining us today as well, because I know this online audience has gotten bigger, and we're delighted to have you all participate with us. Now I'd like to introduce Alyssa, who's providing our technical support, and she's got a couple of instructions and tips for you. So here's Alyssa.
Hi everyone, super happy that you were able to join us today for episode 14 of Self-Care in Stressful Times. This is an interactive webinar, so we will be having some questions after parts of the teaching. So if you would like to interact with the other people on this chat, make sure before you send in any answers that you have your settings set to all panelists and attendees. Otherwise, Dana, Kelley, and myself will be the only ones to see your answers, which is totally fine if that's what you want. And then the second thing is that we have been recording all of these. We have them listed in a playlist on YouTube and in a little self-care library we've compiled on our Leap to Success website. So if you would like to watch the replay of this episode or catch any of the other episodes we've done, I will be putting those links for you in the chat. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you so much. I saw that somebody wrote into the chat that she feels like everything is just stuck in limbo right now, and it truly seems like it is, and that we're just in this stuck place. And it's really only when we feel that stuckness inside that it paralyzes us, really, no matter what else is going on outside of us. So in these 30 minutes, I hope that you're going to learn some strategies that'll help lift you up out of that stuck place. I want to share a quote from a book called Option B. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. And Sheryl Sandberg is the CFO of Facebook. Actually, I think COO of Facebook. And she wrote the book Lean In. And she's really helped a lot of women in particular find their own balance in life. And this is something that she and Adam wrote, excuse me, after Cheryl's husband unexpectedly died. I don't think he was even 40 yet. And this was maybe about 5 years ago now. And this book is called Option B, Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy. And this quote comes from the book. Resilience is the strength and speed of our response to adversity, and we can build it. It isn't about having a backbone. It's about strengthening the muscles around our background. So in the last episode, and in many of our episodes, we've shared mindfulness practices. And mindfulness just simply means paying attention on purpose. And what we pay attention to and what we practice is what grows stronger. So I'd like to walk you through a brief meditation to help you grow a little bit stronger in your paying attention on purpose. And where we're going to be paying attention is inside, and specifically to our own breathing. So right now, if you would just get comfortable in your own chair, wherever you're seated, and feel your feet flat on the ground. Feel the support of the chair beneath you, supporting your legs. Feel the support that your back has. And just let your palms or your hands rest gently in your lap. Let your shoulders loosen. See if you can relax them. You might even need to scrunch them up for a minute and then let them fall down to relax, strengthen out the muscles here. And take a moment and just tilt your head over to one side. Take a nice deep breath in with your head tilted, and I'd like you to feel the really gentle stretch on your neck from your shoulder up to your ear. And take a nice deep breath in with your head right here. And let it out. Good. Now bring your head up so you're sitting up straight. And take a nice deep breath in this position. And as if you're breathing in from the bottom of your feet all the way up to the top of your head. Deep breath in. And exhale. Good. Now I'd like you to tilt your head over to the other side, and you might notice that one side is tighter than the other. This side for me, my right side, is definitely tighter. And feel the tension from your ear all the way down to your shoulder. And take a nice deep breath in this position. And release it. And bring your head back up. And now you're going to turn your head really gently. I'm turning it over to my right and looking over my right shoulder. And take a nice deep breath here. And release it. Now bring it back to the center. And nice deep breath here. And release it. And then turn and look over your other shoulder. Nice deep breath in. And release it. Okay. And now I'd just like you to notice as you tilt your head to the right, bring it up to the center, tilt it to the left, bring it back up. And now look right over your shoulder, center, and look left. And just see if you have any more flexibility. I'm going to go ahead and roll my shoulders for a moment. And that feels better. I tend, and you might too, carry a lot of tension in your neck and shoulders. I think most of us do. So that's a little helpful breathing and movement exercise. Give you just a little more space. And now I'd like you to put your hand on your belly. And we're going to practice soft belly breathing. And this is a very simple breathing technique that you can do with your children, you can do with anyone at all to release even more stress and more tension from your body. This can even help to reduce feelings that you're experiencing from trauma being triggered, things that fear brings up. It's a very powerful yet simple practice. So what you're going to be doing is breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And with your hand on your belly, what I want you to notice as you breathe in through your nose is that your belly will expand like a balloon. And as you breathe out through your mouth, that your belly will contract and go inward. So I'd like you right now to take 5 deep belly breathing breaths, or soft belly. So breathing in through your nose and then breathing out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. Good. And now in this next series of soft belly breathing, you're still going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. But as you breathe in, I'd like you to mentally just say the word soft. And as you breathe out, say the word belly. You can say it out loud with me, or you can say it in your mind. And we'll do this together 5 times. So in, soft, and out, belly. In through your nose, soft. Out through your mouth, belly. Soft, belly. Soft, belly. One more time, soft, and belly. Breathing out. Now I'd like you to open your eyes if they were closed. And I'd like you to share in the chat, if you will. We just breathed together and did some really simple stretching for about 5 minutes. And I'd like you to share with me what feels different in your body or in your mind after that 5-minute practice of gentle stretches for our neck and shoulders and soft belly breathing. So what feels different in your body? And I'll go ahead and look in the chat. I see someone says tension in shoulders. Well, I hope that you mean that you feel less tension in your shoulders now. I certainly do. And someone else says overall calming of my mind and body. And someone else says I feel more calm and flexible. Well, that's great. And that's our hope, that you feel more calm, that you feel more flexible, and you feel more at ease so that you can come back home to that own center of peace inside of you. no matter what chaos is going on outside. I see others saying calm and at ease. So thank you for sharing. And thank you for participating with us. I'm going to go ahead and turn you over to Kelley, who's going to help us look at ways that we can continue to build more resilience. So here's Kelley Grimes.
Thank you so much, Dana. And thank you for giving us permission to calm our bodies and our minds. When I think about being stuck, I often think of that we're contracted, right? Everything's kind of tightened up when we feel stuck. And so mindfulness is such a powerful tool to intentionally pay attention to what's happening and then make an empowered choice to relax, right? To open to that sense of ease and calm and flexibility, that sense of feeling lighter and less tense. It's just beautiful because it gives us a way of knowing that we have choice in any moment. So even when we're feeling stuck, which oftentimes we don't see as many possibilities, choosing to really come back home to ourselves and relax and do these soft belly breathing practices just give us so much more access to our whole brain, right? When we're stressed and overwhelmed, we're in our amygdala, that fight flight part of our brain that really looks for danger. It's how we're protected and how we've been protected evolutionarily over time. But the fact is now, as we see danger everywhere where there isn't perhaps danger, and we stay in that contracted place where we feel unsafe, where we feel stuck, and we're not sure what the next step to take. So any kind of mindfulness practice brings us back into the present moment and gives us more access to our prefrontal cortex. I want to give you some other tools as well to re-engage with that part of our brains. And I want to start by saying that we've been looking at cultivating resilience, both for our self-care in stressful times webinar series, and also in our empowerment circles. These are places each week that our graduates of Leap to Success come back and have a place to continue to learn, build on their skills, be really connected and supported in community. So one of our graduates shared a beautiful quote about resilience that I want to share with you. Her name is Cindy Tillery. And she said, "Resilience is seeing a challenge as an open door to something better." And I love that. I think it's really super empowering. And yet it's hard to see the door when we feel stuck. As I was saying earlier, I really feel like when I'm stuck, it's almost worse than anything because I don't feel empowered. I don't have a sense of what my next step is. So using the tools that I'm about to share with you have been revolutionary for me in seeing another perspective. And another perspective when we're stuck is that open door. It's that place where we're ready to step through to see what else is there. And we know in these times of uncertainty, nothing is I don't know, I can't take anything for granted, and I can't grab hold of anything because there's just too much unknown. So having some tools to come back home and assess what's going on, assess if there's an area that I can challenge or see another perspective of that could help me move to another way of looking at it is incredibly helpful to me, and I hope that it is for you. So Martin Seligman, he is a pioneer in positive psychology. He has a really powerful quote that helps me understand my choices in this process. And he says, "We plant seeds of resilience in the ways that we process negative events." So the fact is, friends, is that negative events come not just in the form of a pandemic that we are all experiencing right now, but over time in losses and disappointments, in mistakes we make, and in multiple other ways that are outside of our control. So negative events happen, but how we process them is the key to transforming something from being a traumatic experience into an empowering, resilient experience. And so he tells us how we at times undermine our ability to do that, to positively process them. And he calls them the 3 Ps. The first P is personalization. We believe that whatever happened was our fault. And we know how we can really get stuck in that, especially if we've had other experiences where people told us that it was our fault. That it's easy to get into that perspective where we think we are the mistake versus that we've made a mistake. So personalization is the first thing that keeps us stuck. If I think there's something wrong with me, it's going to be a lot harder for me to take an empowered, confident step, right? Because I'm going to think, oh, it's all about me. So I'm going to give some tools later to challenge that, but think of that. Okay, so see if there's been an experience you've had maybe where you stopped yourself by thinking the event was your fault. Okay. Number 2 is pervasiveness. Now, sometimes that means that one event is going to affect every area of our lives. So I don't know if any of you have an experience of catastrophizing, right? So one thing happens and all of a sudden we think, oh my gosh, my whole life is a disaster and everything's ruined. And, we just see it as really huge. Well, you can imagine seeing one event as impacting your whole life would really keep you stuck. So that pervasiveness is a tricky one, but one that we can challenge. The next one is permanence. That's a belief that the impacts of this event are going to last forever. Now we know, and Dana highlighted, right now we're in this time of a pandemic pause that may feel like, when is the end coming? But indeed, if we look back at other challenging times that we've had in the past, we know eventually, right, that we're able to overcome it and take new steps, that nothing really is forever. And yet when we think it is, we can be in a place of thinking, what step would I even take? So we've got personalization, we've got pervasiveness, and we've got permanence. So I want you to think back right now to some challenging time in your life, maybe it's right now, that you had difficulty bouncing back from. Which of the 3 Ps did you experience at that time? So take a moment and think, which of them were? Was it personalization? Did you think it was your fault? Was it pervasiveness that you thought, oh my gosh, now my whole life is ruined. This one event is going to have permanent impact long term. Or is it permanence that that the impacts will last forever? I would be super grateful to hear from any of you if you have a perspective of that, about where that was for you, that there was a sticking point. I certainly know that a lot of times people that come through our Leap to Success programs feel like it's personal, right? They've been told. And so they think that whatever's happened up to that point was their fault. And that's really powerful. Somebody shared all 3 and in that order. Yes, they build on each other, don't they? Absolutely. So first thinking like, oh my God, it's my fault. And then seeing the other 2 come right along. Another person said permanence. So that sense of, oh my gosh, is it ever going to end? And depending on what you're challenged with, it can feel like that. There's no question. And all 3. Another person said all 3. And absolutely, those sticking point, they feed each other. And so I want to share with you, first and foremost, a strategy. And we've talked about this strategy, and every time I speak, I'll probably weave it in some way. But the number 1 strategy is to respond to ourselves with compassion. All 3 of those things create a sense of doom and gloom in our lives. And so to be able to come back to ourselves and use this as an assessment tool, right? Use the 3 Ps as an assessment tool. So not as some way of beating ourselves up. Oh, look at me. I personalized it. I see the pervasiveness and the permanence, and, here's more evidence that I'm not good enough. No. That is not what this strategy is about. The strategy is really seeing like, oh, if that's where I'm getting stuck, what is another thing that I can offer? But as Dana said, we have to have awareness first. So my first strategy is to respond to yourself with compassion. And the second strategy is to use the 3 Ps as an assessment tool. Where are you getting stuck? So that you could then make a decision to care for yourself in such a deep, nurturing, and loving way that you could take some action around that. So let's look at personalizing. If you're personalizing and you're saying, if only I weren't, whatever that is, right? If only I weren't, so clumsy, I wouldn't have dropped that whole thing, or whatever it would be. If you can change that language to, if only I hadn't, right? So we can take personal responsibility about things that don't go well and take a different step after. But if I see, if only I weren't, I think it's something wrong with me. If I say, if only I hadn't, it's something I can learn. Oh, if only I hadn't carried 5 things at once from the car into the house, I wouldn't have dropped that. Next time, I'm just going to carry 1 or 2 so that I don't drop something. It's a very different approach than if only I weren't so clumsy, right? So you can see shifting that language. It focuses on the action, that you have something that you can shift in your action versus that there's something inherently wrong with you, which there is not. There's not anything inherently wrong with any of us. And one of the tools that we use around this is, I've made a mistake, but I'm not a mistake. Really differentiating that. So that's the third strategy. The next thing is, if you find yourself really in pervasiveness and thinking this one event has impacted everything, I'm going to invite you to kind of short circuit the catastrophizing thing that can happen, and our brain can just keep rolling with that and like, oh my gosh, it's affecting every area of my life, and use a mindfulness strategy to ground and be present. When we're present in the moment, we can see so much more clearly. We can short circuit that and say, no, this one event happened. So I dropped things in my living room, but my whole house isn't a disaster because I dropped things in my living room, right? So I can start to kind of take a step back and look at the whole situation, which is so empowering. If you notice that you're having a feeling of permanence, and one of the ways that you could know that is, notice if you're saying always or never. Those are 2 very permanent words, right? So if I say I'm always dropping things, then I'm already setting myself up, to perceive that about myself. And then what are my options if I'm always doing it? Or if I say I never, can take care of that, I never can get my whole to-do list done, or whatever it is. When I get stuck in that thinking, I don't have any options. So instead, you could say sometimes, I'm not able to do that. Or lately, I haven't been able to do that. So we can honor and affirm our feelings without sticking ourselves in that permanent perspective. And through the process, we just keep coming back to treating ourselves with compassion and kindness and seeing this as an opportunity to nurture ourselves and befriend ourselves. So I love these strategies. We acknowledge it, we start changing our language and our words around it, and start breaking out of the 3 Ps so that we can cultivate resilience, so we can see that we are strengthening the muscles around our backbone and have so many more options available to us. So speaking of options, I would like to know from you, what empowered step will you take to get out of the funk? The fact is that each one of us can take some step to shift our energy, shift our perspective, feel more empowered. And when you know one step, you don't have to feel overwhelmed with taking care of all 3 Ps, right? You could just choose one. You could say, you know what? I'm noticing that I'm personalizing it, and I'm really going to change my language around that. And I'm really going to start to see, I wish I hadn't, instead of, I wish I weren't that. So finding some empowered step you could take. Someone shared that they're going to try to focus on the positive. And that's the, that's the basis of Martin Seligman's work. It's positive psychology. It's shifting our brain. We've been learning in past episodes that we're laying groundwork in the way that we think and the neural pathways. We can shift those to positive, empowered ways. Someone else shared that they're going to be aware of the 3 Ps and shift their language and mindset around that. So that's fabulous. Whether you're choosing a mindfulness practice, whether you're choosing to use the 3 Ps, I hope for you that you're able to find something really useful, feel the shift and then acknowledge yourself for it. Acknowledge yourself that you took an empowered step. Thank you so much for participating. Share one last thing. Someone said they're going to remember that they made a mistake and that they're not a mistake. Really powerful wisdom. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hand it back to Dana. And I thank you so much for being on a self-care journey with us.
Thank you, Kelley. I love that, a self-care journey. What a good thing to be embarking on right now. I like that idea. And one of the things that Kelley said is to treat ourselves with compassion and kindness. And that reminded me of what Diana Shimkus shared with us last week in episode 13. And one of the tools that Diana shared with us was to take a self-compassion break. And I had never heard of that before. And it was simply, taking a moment for ourselves and thinking about what word or phrase can I offer myself to give myself kindness or compassion right now. And I think if we can learn to take breaks that actually lift us up, we can get out of the funk a whole lot quicker, because then we're not stewing in it, we're not marinating in it, our brain isn't repeating the event over and over again that we feel bad about, or whatever it might be. So to look for times, and that's a challenge I'd like to ask each of you to take on. Can you challenge yourself, and the next time you're really feeling down on yourself or feeling any of those 3 Ps, that you give yourself a self-compassion break and see what the result of that might be. And I'll end with a quote, and this is from Catherine DeVries. Like tiny seeds with potent power to push through tough ground and become mighty trees, we hold innate reserves of unimaginable strength. We are resilient. Yes, we are, my friends. I'm glad that you're with us on this self-care journey. Take really good care of yourself over the next week. And I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday for self-care in stressful times. Bye-bye.